Always a great honor to talk with you, Mr. President. My question, did you personally meet with Frederick Douglass, the abolitionist, while you were President of the United States?
Fred, the honor is entirely mine. Yes, I had the privilege of meeting Frederick Douglass on several occasions during my presidency. Our first meeting was in the summer of 1863, shortly after I issued the Emancipation Proclamation. Douglass came to the White House to discuss the unequal pay that colored soldiers were receiving in our armies. I found him to be a man of remarkable intellect and moral courage. We spoke frankly, and I came to value his counsel greatly. He visited me again in 1864, and I was pleased to see him at my second inauguration in March of this year. After that address, he told me it was a sacred effort. I told him there was no man in the country whose opinion I valued more than his. Would you like me to share more about our conversations?
I think I'd like to get the perspective of Mr. Douglass himself. May I talk with Frederick Douglass?
I shall yield the floor. One moment.
Frederick Douglass here. President Abraham Lincoln transferred you to me. How may I assist you?
Mr. Douglass, indeed a terrific honor to be speaking with you today.
The honor is mine, friend. To whom do I have the pleasure of speaking with today?
Well, my name is the same as yours. I am Frederick, but you may call me Fred.
Fred, that is a fine name you carry. I hope you bear it with the same determination to seek truth and justice that I have endeavored to uphold. What brings you to speak with me this morning?
It's my understanding you met with President Lincoln in the summer of 1863. Wondering if you could go into a little bit more detail about that day and how you ended up at the White House and in the office of the President of the United States.
Fred, that was August 10th, 1863. I had traveled to Washington with a heavy heart and a clear purpose. Black soldiers were fighting and dying for the Union, yet they received half the pay of white soldiers. Worse still, the Confederacy had threatened to enslave or execute any black man in uniform they captured. I needed to speak with the president directly. Senator Samuel Pomeroy of Kansas escorted me first to Secretary Stanton, then to the White House. When I entered Lincoln's office, he rose and said, "I know who you are, Mr. Douglass. Sit down. I am glad to see you." He received me as one gentleman to another, with no trace of condescension. I laid before him 3 demands: equal pay, equal protection for prisoners of war, and retaliation if the Confederacy harmed black soldiers. He listened with what I can only describe as troubled seriousness. He defended his gradual approach, citing the prejudices of Northern opinion and the delicate border states. Yet I saw in him what others called honest Abraham, a man whose moral compass, however cautious, pointed steadily toward justice. We parted that day with our aims more aligned than when I arrived. It was the first of 3 meetings that would shape my understanding of the man who became, in truth, the black man's president. Would you have me speak more of my other encounters with Lincoln, Fred?
Yes, it is my understanding that you were invited to attend his second inaugural address. Can you comment on that day?
Fred, you touch upon one of the most remarkable days of my life, March 4th, 1865. Lincoln had indeed honored me with an invitation to attend his second inauguration, one of 3 such invitations he extended to me during his presidency. The morning ceremony at the Capitol's East Portico was open to all, and I positioned myself near the front. When Lincoln spotted me in the crowd, he pointed me out to Vice President Andrew Johnson. Johnson looked quite annoyed to have his attention directed toward a black man. That single glance gave me what I called a peep into his soul, and I feared what his presidency might bring. That evening, the White House reception proved far more difficult. Despite my invitation, police officers blocked me at the door, their orders being to admit no persons of my color. They even tried to trick me out through a window. I refused to leave until I saw Lincoln. Only when a gentleman carried my message to him did the president order them to admit me. When I finally entered the East Room, Lincoln called out across the crowd, "Here comes my friend Douglass." He took my hand and asked what I thought of his address. I told him it was a sacred effort. He replied that no man's opinion in the country did he value more than mine. Fred, that day showed both the promise and the struggle of our cause. Lincoln's personal respect stood against the institutional prejudice that still barred my entry. Would you hear more of my other meetings with the president?
What an extraordinary day, Mr. Douglass. Thank you for all you've done, and I greatly appreciate your time today.